Hey guys, I'm Oliver, and as you can see that here is your machine, and you can see that there are both the vibrating plate, the cap vibrating plate, and the filling machine and the label machine. And then I will tell you how to install them and operate them. So first you need to install the filling machine, and here is the back of the filling machine. You can see that there are tubes and cables with corresponding labels around them, and also in the back of the machine there are also labels. So what you need to do is match the corresponding labels, and for the tubes you have to plug in, and for the cables you have to plug in and fasten the screw. And here is the gas sources, you can see. So the gas source is divided into two parts. One part is go to the back of the filling machine, and another side is go to the gas adjuster. And next, you have to connect the bottle vibrating plate and the cap vibrating plate to the filling machine. So actually, there are two special parts for them. So one of them, which is located in the left of the machine, and the other one is in the back of the machine. So you just need to put the silica gel on the special part and put the cover plate. Use 3 screws to fasten them. Then you need to adjust the bottle vibrating plate. So you have to match the outlet of the vibrating plate to the linear vibrator with 1 or 2 millimeters gap. And if you find that the outlet which is located in the left or right of the machine, then you have to lose the screws which is located in the center of the vibrating plate. You have to lose it and then adjust the position. And if you find that the outlet of the vibrating plate which is higher or lower than the linear vibrator, then you have to adjust the 4 screws which is located in the 4th side of the vibrating plate. And then you need to match the linear vibrator with the bottle receiver with 1 or 2 millimeters gap. And here are 2 pumps, so you have to put the 2 left side tubes, insert them to the liquid, and the right one will go to fill the bottles. And I'm going to tell you the name and the functions of the components. So here is the bottle receiver. So the bottle will go through the bottle receiver to the turntable, and the turntable will run for 1 step to here. So here is a bottle detector, which is going to detect if there is a bottle on the turntable. If it works good, the pump will fill water into the bottle. And the next one is a punch and pre-screw mechanism. So the punch mechanism will punch the cap on the bottle, and the pre-screw mechanism will pre-screw the caps. And the next one is a cap detector, which is going to detect if there is a cap on the bottle. And the next one is a liquid detector, which is going to detect if there are liquid. And the next one is a screw mechanism. So the cap will be screwed under the screw mechanism. And here is the exit of the bottle. And here is the back of the label machine. And you can see there are cables and hoses with labels. So it is same like the filling machine. You just need to plug in the cables and screw the nuts. And here is a gas source, so you have to connect the gas here. Here is a linear vibrator of the label machine, and you have to match the exit of the filling machine to the linear vibrator of the label machine with 1 or 2 millimeters gap. And here is the front of the filling machine, and there are many buttons. This one is the main switch, which is going to control the machine on and off. And here is the screw speed adjuster, so you can screw the nut to control the force of the screw mechanism. And here is an emergency stop. So any emergency happen, you have to press it. And if you want to release it, you have to rotate it, follow the clockwise to release it. And here is the pause and the run button. And here is the panel of the filling machine, and there are many buttons. So this one is the alarm, so you can see the current alarm and historical alarms here, and you can also clear the historical alarm and the current alarm by press the corresponding buttons. And the next one is the sensor test. So this part is going to detect the sensor is good or not. So I will use the emergency stop as an example. So you can see here the sensor of the emergency stop is red now. And if I press the emergency button, it will become green, and I release it, it will become red again. The next one is the run. So we can see that there are three coefficients here. So the limit means how many bottles you want to fill. And if you want to fill countless bottles, you can just input 0. So 0 means that you can fill countless bottles. And the count means how many bottles are filled until now from today. And the total means that how many bottles are filled from the first time that you use it. And also here are many buttons, so you can press the corresponding buttons to on and off the corresponding mechanism. For example, if I do not want to use the bottle vibrating plate and I want to use my hand to press the bottle on the turntable, I can just turn off the feed bottle, and next time when I use it, the bottle vibrating plate will not work, and I can use my hand to place the bottle on the turntable. The next part is the pump manual. So this part is going to wash the pumps and tubes. So you can set how many times that you want to wash your pumps and tubes, and you can set the volume of the water or the alcohol to clean your pumps and tubes. And here the bypass, if you do not use the pump and tubes for a long time, like more than 15 days, then you have to turn on it, so it will protect the tubes and pumps. And we recommend you use the pure water, alcohol, and pure water, so each procedure for 10 or 15 times to clean the pump. And the pump speed part, you can input different value to set the speed of the pumps. As for the calibration part, so this part is going to check the accuracy. So you can see that there are three coefficients here: the set volume and the real volume 1 and real volume 2. So the set volume is the ideal volume, which means how many water or liquid that you want to fill. And the real volume, you can select 10 to 15 bottles and calculate the average value and input it here and press the calibrate. And you have to do it for 2 or 3 times to make the real volume, which is close to the ideal volume. The last part is the program part, so there are many coefficients here. The capacity means the volume that you want to fill into the bottle. And the punch cap time means the time that the mechanism punches the cap. And the prescrew delay time means the delay time that the prescrew mechanism work. And the push cap time means the time that the bottle receiver will push the cap. And there are send bottle voltage and send cap voltage, which means the voltage of the 2 bottle vibrating plate. So the higher the value is, the more powerful the vibrator will vibrate. And the hold cap time means the time that the mechanism will hold the cap. And there are overload to stop time and overload to start time. So you can see here is the overload place. When the detector detects that there are 4 bottles here, so this part will start or stop working after 2 seconds. And the next page, the linear voltage means the voltage of the 2 linear vibrators. And the pump speed means the speed of the pump. And the no bottle stop means when there are no bottles on the turntable, it will not stop immediately. It will still continue to work 20 steps and then stop. And if you want to set all the recipe down and if you want to save it, you can just press here and then save it. And we have 10 recipes from 0 to 9. You can recall every recipe that you saved before and use it. For example, if you want to use recipe 6, I can just input it and call the recipe and just use it. And next one, I'm going to tell you how to install and operate the labeling machine. But before it, I have to tell you how to connect the filling machine and the labeling machine. So you have to match the exit of the filling machine and the bottle receiver of the label machine with 1 or 2 millimeters gap to make sure that the bottle can pass smoothly. And here is the back of the labeling machine, and you can see there are cables with labels around the cable, and also in the back of the machine there are labels on the machine. So you just need to match the corresponding label and plug in the cable and screw the nut to fasten it. And there are 2 gas holes in the left of the machine. So you can see the label is push A and push B. You just need to connect the push A and push B from the gas hole to here. And now I'm going to tell you the components and the function of the. So here is the bottle receiver, and there are belts in both sides. So the bottle will pass to 0, and here is the push bottle detector. And the function of it is to check if there is a bottle, and if the detector is good, then the push cylinder will push the bottle to the rubbing mechanism. And here is a label detector, which is going to check if the label is on the bottle, and then the bottle with the label will go out of the machine through the rubbing mechanism. And here is the third detector, which is going to check if there are labels on the back paper. And here are 3 motors. So this one is for the rubbing mechanism, and this one is for the label mechanism, and this one is for the mist collecting mechanism. So here is a printer and its controller, and there are many rollers here, and here is the label release components. So the label will, from the release component to the printer in this way, and finally arrive waste collector. So here is the front of the labeling machine. There is a run and a pause button, and here is the emergency button. So when you face any emergency, you should press it, and if you want to release it, just rotate it, follow the clockwise, and here is the main switch to turn on and off the machine. So let's turn on the machine. So there are several components. The first one is sensor test. So these three sensors is for this part, and the fourth sensor is for the print part. So this I0.5 is the label, and the I0.4 is for the photo push. And this one is for the label detector. And the next one is label menu. So you can press the two buttons to drop forward and drop backward of the label machine. So you can see here, if I press the drop forward, it will work. And the backward is in the same way. And this one you need to input the length of the label, but you have to pay attention that the length of the label you have to add one side of the blank, which means that the label itself and one side the blank of the label. And the second is the real length of the label, which means you can like select 5 or 10 label from the bottle and to measure the length and find the average value and input it and press the collaborate to make it more close to the ideal length. And page down is label rubbling. So label rubbling is actually this part. You can press the drop forward and drop backward to run here, and this three blanket is at the same way. And next one is the manual part. So here the first button is bottle in. If you turn on this part, you can find the belt here is running. And the second one is the push bottle. If you press it, you can see the cylinder here will push the bottle to the rub mechanism. And the third one is the roller. So if you press it, you can see here the roller is working. And one label and one print means you can just manual to label just for one, and the print is at the same way. You can use your hand to just print one print in the printer. 停下来。And in the program interface, you can see there are many coefficients here. The first one is the number of front marks, which means we always recommend you to put 2 marks in front of the sensor. So we always input here the value is 2. And the second is the distance between label, which means the length of the label and plus the one side of the blank. And the third one is the distance of sensor. This means the distance of pre-labeling the bottle. So if the distance is too long, the label will winked, and if the distance is too short, you cannot print the label. So you have to try to find the best value and input it. And the next one is the label speed and the rubbing speed, which means the speed of the labeling mechanism and the speed of the rubbing mechanism. We recommend you set the same value to each one. And this speed, which means that how many labels can you print in 1 minute? The first one is the ideal value, and the second one is the real value. And the last one is the back delay times, which means the collector will work after labeling in 0.3 seconds. And the last part is run interface. So you can see there are 3 coefficients here. The limit means how many labels you want to print today. And the count means how many labels you have printed today. And the total means how many labels you have printed from the first time that you use it. And here is 2 switch. This one is print. You can turn on and turn off the printer here. And the second is simulate, which means if you set everything down and you want to test if the machine works good, you can turn on the simulate. And here are 2 green circles, which means there are 2 labels in front of the detector. If there are just 1 or 0, then the circle will become red. And 1 label just means the whole mechanism just run for 1 step to label 1. And the start and stop is just to begin and stop the machine. So here is going to tell you how to install the label from the rollers to the printer and to the label machine and to the backsheet collector. Here is another machine, so you can say that here is the filling machine and the label machine and the printer. And here is the bottle vibrating plate, and this is a vibrating plate of the bead, and here is the cap vibrating plate. Here is the back of the filling machine, so you can see that there are tubes and cables with labels around them, and also in the back of the machine there are corresponding labels. So what you need to do is just match them, and for the tubes you have to plug in, and for the cables you have to plug in and screw the nuts. And here is the pump tube, So you have to install the one side of the pump here, and in the middle of the tube you can see there is a lure. So you have to put the lure into the pump. You have to place it in the pump, and after it you have to lock the rod to fasten it. And for another side of the pump, you have to put it into the liquid that you want to fill. Now I'm going to tell you how to install the vibrating plate. So actually there are two special parts which is located in the left of the machine and the back of the machine to install the vibrating plate. So you just need to put the silica gel on the special part and put the cover plate and use 3 screws to fasten it. And then you have to adjust the bottle vibrating plate. You can say that if the outlet of the bottle vibrating plate, which is located in the left or right of the bottle receiver, then you have to lose the screws which is located in the center of the bottle vibrating plate, and then you can adjust the left and right. And if you find that the outlet which is higher or lower than the bottle receiver, then you have to lose the 4 screws which is located in the 4 side of the machine, and then you can adjust the height. And for the cap vibrating plate, it is the same way. And next, I'm going to tell you the name of the mechanism and the functions of them. So as I said before, here is the bottle vibrating plate. So here is the vibrator of the bead, and here is the bottle cap vibrating plate. And here is the bottle receiver. So the bottle will convey by the bottle vibrating plate to the bottle receiver. Then it will push the bottle to the turntable. The turntable will turn for 1 step to here. So here you can see there is a detector here, which is going to detect if there is bottles on the turntable. And when it works good, the turntable will run for 1 step to the next one. So here is the pump, and it will pump the water into the bottle. And here is a punch and pre-screw mechanism. So it will punch the cap on the bottle, and the pre-screw mechanism will pre-screw the bottle. And the next one, here is a cap detector, which is going to, if there is a cap on the bottle. And here is a liquid detector, which is going to detect if there are liquid in the bottle. And here is a screw mechanism. So when the bottle go to here, the screw mechanism will screw the cap. And then the cap and the bottle will go to the exit of the bottle. And for the panels and also the buttons and the label machine, it is the same as the first one, so I will not repeat them.